Hello, everyone. Good morning. You all don't need me this morning. We are going to start, ready or not. Welcome to SSUC this morning, the chattiest place in town. You're welcome in this circle no matter who you are, no matter what your week has been like, no matter whether you've been here many times or this is your first, you are welcome here. We open ourselves and commit together to creating a place where we're all welcome and safe, no matter how we identify ourselves. This really is a place to wonder and to question, to express our gratitude and grief, our joy and frustration, our hope and our fear, and everything in between. Is that my fillings getting a radio station or something else? Okay. We are grateful for this opportunity to be together for the land on which we meet, the inheritance that we share with Treaty 6 brothers and sisters, our Métis friends, and all who call this land our ancestral and adopted home. We celebrate together with each other, and we also move together in wisdom and experience. The wisdom of our own stories, the wisdom of our shared intentions and prayers, the wisdom we sing and speak, and the wisdom we simply feel deep within us when we give ourselves the space and the permission to be at one with ourselves. So today, as we continue our series of the ABCs of Deeper Living, we focus on the rest that we all need to rest and fall into ourselves, into a deeper understanding of our world and of wisdom. So let's come to this place with openness and find a quiet center from which we will live this morning, recognizing that all we have promised to us is this very moment, this moment right now. Let's sing and celebrate that we have this day. It's an exciting soundtrack we've got this morning. As we share our life and work with each other, the things that are coming up in the life of our community, I want to share a few things with you. It's mornings like these after a blowy, snowy day like yesterday, that we're grateful for light, for sunshine, for warmth, that is visible. It's always there, of course, sometimes hiding. Sometimes we don't feel it as much as other days. But we know that that light and that source is there. Source of life and energy, the light that shines in the lives of each of us. The light that helps us to recognize the connection and the common humanity we have in us and between us. And we're grateful that we can light a candle every week that reminds us to live lives that brighten in all that we do and say and focus us and draws us toward all that's meaningful in our lives. For this light is the sacredness of all we do. And so we're grateful for it. We have a carpet set up at the front. I would like to invite anyone who wants to come to the carpet for a time for all ages to come up here. And be careful as you sit. Perfect. All right. Good morning. I want to show you some pictures this morning of my cat. We have a cat at our house. Do you have a cat as well? Wow. Coco is the cat's name. That is adorable. Wow, a fighting fish named Stanley. I love that. That's great. That is beautiful. Animals can teach us a lot if we pay attention. This is our cat. Our cat's name is Cat. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. And what I want to tell you about this cat is how sometimes this cat goes a little bit crazy. That makes sense. Does Coco go a little bit crazy sometimes? Yeah, he goes like that. Oh, yes. Totally. Well, I just want to tell you what Cat does. So maybe Coco does this, but Cat will just get into these moods where she runs as fast as she can to the other side of the house, and then runs as fast as she can to this side of the house, and then scratches her post, and then runs to the other side of the house, runs back, and then maybe wants to like attack our leg or something, and then runs, and then she comes back, and she flops down. I think she's exhausted. I tried to get a picture that's on my phone up onto there. Well, I wish I could have taken a video of that, because it's really funny. So I'm sorry to everyone else. Just you guys get to see this picture. This is the cat after she's done all that running. She gets up on that orange chair, and she just zonks right out. She's so tired, and she sleeps for a couple of hours. Oh, yeah. We should get Corky to chase her and help her around. Well, we do have a dog as well, but that's a different story. Can we see dog? No, I don't have it. It's Cat Day today, not Dog Day. So I wanted to tell you all that because I think the cat has a lesson for us. We can do all kinds of things. We play, we run, we jump, we do lots of stuff. We do sports. Sometimes we play soccer or hockey. We do all those kinds of things. You do have a soccer ball, and it's fun to play with that, isn't it? Hi, Micah. And then, when we're all done playing and being busy, do we have to do something like the cat does? Yeah. We have to rest a little bit. No, we launch We may not curl up on a chair quite like the cat, but we need our rest too, right? And that helps us to be ready for the next time that we have to go, 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 go. So, rest is important. That's all I have to say. Okay. It's time for our programs, everyone. That's a time where we can go, go, go.
This is part of the Gospel of Mark, the very first one to be recorded. So starting at Mark 6, the apostles met with Jesus and reported on all that they had done and taught. Then Jesus said, "Come off by yourselves. Let's take a break and get a little rest." There had been so much constant coming and going, and they didn't even have time to eat. So they got into a boat and went off to a remote place by themselves. But someone saw them going, and the word got around. And from the surrounding towns, people ran on foot and got there ahead of them. And when Jesus arrived, he saw this huge crowd. At the sight of them, his heart broke, and he went right back to work teaching them. When his disciples thought that this had gone long enough, and it was now quite late in the day, they interrupted. "We're a long way out in the country, and it's very late. Give these people a blessing and send the folks off so that they can have supper." Later, Jesus insisted the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead across the lake. After sending them off, he climbed a mountain to be by himself. In these words from the Jesus tradition, may we find wisdom for our living.
The following video is from a TED Talk given by Gavin Pritor-Pinney entitled "Cloudy with a Chance of Joy." Gavin Pritor-Pinney wrote a book about cloud spotting, and he started a club of people who like to look at the clouds. I'm not going to play you the whole thing, but this is one excerpt from Gavin's TED Talk. In the words of this author, may we find wisdom for our living. I think that perhaps many of us live under an illusion about how we work and organize our days. I can't speak for anyone else. I can only speak for me. I grew up thinking work before play. That kind of attitude creeps in from very, very early on in our lives. We have to do our homework before we can play with our friends or watch TV or go outside. In our work life, we make lists, and only if we get all our tasks accomplished will we take that break. Or in some cases, we don't leave for the day until all those check marks are in place. Actually, though, it's taken years of observation in my own work habits to realize I'm not productive that way. If I force myself to work by chaining myself to the desk or closing the door to all distractions, I end up with work that, when I look back at it, seems full of maybe resentment. Or it has that feeling, at least, of that kind of drab, I had to do this kind of feel. This week I came across this post, and it made all the sense in the world to me. What I thought would make me productive, hard work, 100%. What actually makes me productive, all of these things. Hard work, time off, sleep, healthy eating, exercise. And it struck me just how true this was for me. When I interrupt my thinking, when I interrupt my writing, when I interrupt anything I'm doing with other activity or rest or a trip to the gym or a quick Chopin waltz at the piano or a visit with an unexpected visitor or a Netflix episode. I won't list all the things I procrastinate with, believe me. It's a long list. But I am, in a sense, making a case for distractions because I've noticed that my work has a time to marinate when we allow ourselves the chance to put away our task lists and say, eventually that'll get done. Ideas seem to be fed by other ideas. When we lock ourselves in our office to do the one thing that needs to get done, we block out all of the amazing congruences and inputs that the rest of our life has on our work. And perhaps that's what we affirm in our Seeking Deeper Living, that productivity and creativity come from lots of different sources, not just one source. Sometimes it needs the chaos of a brainstorming session. Sometimes it needs other people to bounce ideas off of. Sometimes it needs sharing the load so that a bunch of people can do some work. And then at other times, it needs quiet. It needs rest. It needs solitude. It needs to let things settle. It needs not to rush. Gavin Preeter-Pinney, in this TED Talk about cloud spotting, reminds us that we need distractions. His line is like music to my heart when he says, more than ever, we need reasons to legitimize doing nothing. We need reminders like clouds, but they don't have to be clouds. They can be the birds at our bird feeder outside our window, or the way the sliding door in my house, which I usually curse because it's not sealed and it gets moisture on the inside, but the way that it makes these amazing, beautiful designs when it gets cold enough. A piece of art we like to sit and stare at, or anything that cues us to do nothing for just a little bit. My father used to have these moments that I noticed when I was a child of doing nothing, but he'd have them. He wasn't a narcoleptic. He didn't just fall asleep, but he would stand on the top step of the stairs. He didn't go up, he didn't go down, he just stood there, and I always asked him, "What are you doing?" Oh, he would just be having a break. It's like, you put your phone, you put your laptop to sleep for a bit. That's what he was doing. He's just hitting the snooze button. This last summer, being in Europe, we visited a good share of museums. You know that kind of trip you're on where no matter where you are and you visit a few museums and, well, And, that is exhausting, and certainly you do a better job of being a museum visitor at the beginning of that than you do at the end. At the end, you're like, is this over yet? But it's funny the way people visit museums nowadays. We, with our 7 or 8 second attention spans, spend about 7 or 8 seconds looking at a piece of art and then moving on to the next one. That's just enough time to pull out our phones, take a picture, and then move to the next piece of art. I don't know, but I think maybe that's not the way art is supposed to be consumed. I always do love the ideas in those museums of the benches or the seats that are across from a beautiful piece of art. Well, don't go to Europe in July if you want to find a spot on those benches or see past the 40 bums between you and the art you're trying to look at. But I can dream. I dream of this kind of empty museum where you could just sit there and stare and no one bothers you. That always happens in the movies, but not in real life in my experience. Slowing down, being present is good for us. It's good for ideas, good for creativity, good for our health, says Gavin Preter-Pinney. So this you'll get a kick out of. Norwegian public broadcaster NRK a few years ago needed some ideas to commemorate the anniversary of the Norwegian National Rail Line. They wanted to broadcast something that would honor that history, and they came up with this idea. 3 camera views out the front of a train merged into a single widescreen shot that's weirdly transfixing to watch and kind of peaceful. And if you wanted to, you could have watched this video on Norway's public television station of this train from Bergen to Oslo for 7 hours and 14 minutes. They broadcast that for 7 hours. And you know what? There were, in Norway, 1.2 million people who watched a portion of that. That's between 1/5 and 1/4 of the population. Those of us with cable are familiar with the Fireplace channel, maybe? So we kind of get that fascination. But Norway's NRK have also aired a salmon fishing program. That was 18 hours. A knitting program. That was 9 hours. A boat cruise along a Norwegian shipping route, and that took 5.5 days of airtime. In a busy world, they, I think, accidentally stumbled upon their public's need to take control of a long, slow story. A long journey, a time to do nothing, a time to slow down and to rest from the hurried nature of the rest of life. I included a reading today that's unlike many in the narratives crafted about the life of Jesus of Nazareth. Often we hear a story, whether an interaction that Jesus could have had in the first century, or maybe a mythical kind of miracle story that demonstrated some spiritual truth that the early tradition wanted to communicate. But this passage is less story and more like day in the life of. He and his friends are experiencing the success of their traveling roadshow of teaching and healing, and crowds are growing. And it's not long in one place before the crowds find this group and push on them and invade their privacy, invade their space, and have needs to hear the teacher or experience what he has to offer. The writers and editors of these accounts would never want to portray Jesus as complaining, really. So they put those complaints in the mouths of the disciples, which is a lovely trick. And these friends of his are complaining about the crowds and the time spent. And Jesus is continually suggesting that they take a break, they go off by themselves, they get some rest. And even after a long day of teaching, and we didn't read this part, we cut and pasted this part, that he sent them away, and his disciples said, well, let them go and get dinner. Well, what we didn't read is the fact that they made available food for 5,000 people. So we'll skip that part. But then after all of that commotion about everyone on the hillside having something to eat, we hear him say, okay, now you guys go across the lake, go to the next place we're going, you go, I'll catch up. And he himself climbs a mountain to be by himself. And it makes me think, are there no lengths he'll go to get away from them? Climb a mountain. It is a beautiful message, though, I think, even in the midst of our most important work we feel is our love, our joy, our calling, and maybe even especially in the midst of the work that is tedious and annoying and straining and draining. In all of that, we need that rest. We need to be our whole selves healthy and balanced. And I think the message in all of that is that each of us needs to go out in a boat or climb a mountain or do whatever it takes to have that time of rest. Many of us have had the privilege of having taken some amazing trips in our lifetime. They don't have to be far away. They can be close by or halfway across the world. But those vacations and those trips themselves only last a few weeks, a few days, a few months, and then they're done. And we take pictures so that we can scroll through them, so that we can flip through them, so that we can be reminded by our apps 1 year later of all the exciting things we were doing 1 year ago when now we're at our office doing something boring. We do all these things, whatever we do. We print the photo books, we do all of that. But more than a physical reminder, what do we do with the memories of the significant experiences we have in our lives? What do we do with the memories of those significant experiences we have in our lives? What do we do with them? Wouldn't it be as amazing to be able to sit still, go back to those places in our heads, understand them, find a place for them in our thinking, ask ourselves, why was this so significant to me? Perhaps even tap into the emotions we felt at certain times in our lives. Emotions and thoughts that pictures can't quite capture. Only our space and our time to relive them and place them in our thinking will do. These kinds of disciplines, if we're able to do them, provide us a way that lasts for as long as we're willing to do them. Our travels, our experiences give us amazing insights and sights, but it's only in relaxing and sitting still with an openness to renew our memories and our past and our present that allows us to turn those experiences into lasting insights, from sights to insights. And travel is just one example. We can apply that to whatever experience. The same is true of our relationships. The time to sit, our various jobs, the time to reflect on the meaning of the roles in our lives, the memories we have, the places we've been, the things we've done. As travel writer and novelist Pico Iyer writes, "When I'm in a stressful situation, waiting for news, having difficult conversations, experiencing the less than joyous of this life, it's the moments I've been still, not the moments I've been running around preparing this and that, but the moments I've been still that I've reflected that prepare me for those challenges. It's in that stillness that we prepare for dealing with the realities of life." Our heads really are loud places. Perhaps we let our bodies lead the way. Still body, still mind, calm breath, calm thoughts. This is the value of finding places of rest wherever we can. It's wonderful that in a community like ours, we get to talk so often about the actions that we need to take in our life. All the ways that we are making the world a better place, all the causes that need our attention, but we also need to recognize the place that rest has in our deep living. We need this time to sink into our lives, to really relax into the meaning we might make of our experiences, our learning, our living. What is that they say? An unexamined life is not worth living. May this time be one that we might do just that. Might the silence that we create right now invite a time of rest, and may that inspire us to do what we can to find those places for ourselves every day. We don't need a desert, a wilderness, a boat, a mountain. All we need is ourselves and a little slice of time. May it be so for us in so many ways. We meet at the center, at our center table, where we can all find our place. And in this moment, may we be open to the gifts of a simple meal. This is a place where a loaf of bread, harvested and baked yesterday, is enjoyed and celebrated today, giving strength and hope for tomorrow. This is a table where a cup of juice might tingle across our taste buds, and where that juice might remind us of the crushed and the bitter, where with patience and diligence might be transformed into sweetness, better shared with each other. As households have done, as spiritual communities have done, as wisdom teachers like Jesus of Nazareth have done, as communities of friends and neighbors will always do, we break bread together as a celebration of a moment, stretching back and stretching forward, pausing to savor the journey with those we care about. No matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, no matter if you're a member of this church or any church, if you've been to this table countless times or never before, you're welcome here. This is a place to pause, to rest in gratitude amid life's intensity. This is a place to relax into celebrating our connection with each other and to all of life. And sometimes that just needs time and space. And a little food doesn't hurt either. You're invited into this time and to this table. For us, not a table of belief, but a table of belonging where there's a place for you. In this moment now, you're welcome to come, to participate, to stay and sit and participate, to do what you need with this time and to rest into it. May this bread be a reminder of simplicity and this cup be a symbol of community as we gather together. Let's leave this place with words on our lips that strengthen our intentions to live into this week. Let's share these words together. As we make our way each day, may we give ourselves permission to rest, to do nothing for a time, to open ourselves to grow our search for what is true for us. As we seek to live meaningful lives, may we invest in deepening our experience of the present moment, letting go of the tyranny of our schedules, devices, and tomorrows. As those who continue to grow in depth with ourselves and our world, may we live to make it so. Amen.